Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Global Book Network. My name is Flobo Boyce, and as always, we sit down with authors who are doing something really great with their works. And I want to talk to you about a book called Sadie's Secret, slated to be out now by the time this hits airway. This would be one of the more provocative books that's come out this year. And I want to welcome the author of that book, Nancy Evelyn Allen, to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm so glad to see you and meet you. I've been thinking about you for about a week now.
Yeah. Hopefully, it wasn't too dreadful, right? We're having a good time. We're keeping things loose.
Yeah.
Well, let's get right into brass tacks. I mean, Sadie's Secrets, right? The idea of this book coming together, was it a lightning strike in the mind? Was it something you're working on for a long time? How did this book come together?
Well, when I decided that I was going to write, I started going to conferences and uh, maybe some classes every now and then, and so one of my co people that we were with had a list of things that you would have to know about a character.
Hmm.
And we were to pick a character uh, and learn about that person. So, I had to know things about what she ate for breakfast, and and we had to think about this person and really learn who she was. And so that's how I got acquainted with Sadie. She has developed in my mind as a real person. I mean, she's really there. I know probably more about her than I do a lot of people,
Yeah.
and so she's been developed along the way, and so then I have said this before, and I'll say it, now too. Um, my grandfather raised a black child in his family.
Hmm.
That was in the 1930s. That was hardly ever done then. And, of course, I had no reason to find out why. I mean, while everybody was living and I could ask. So I honestly do not know why that black child was there. My grandfather had 8 boys and no girls,
Hmm.
and one other boy that he added to the family. So this story is a little bit of what my muse and me decided how he got there.
Right.
And so
This
it's a made up story, but who knows? It might be so. I don't know.
Well, the idea of basing this in the post Civil War South to say it was a tenuous part of American history is kind of an understatement. Talk
Right.
to me about that. The idea of having the story set in that time period after so much destruction of the Civil War.
Well, I set the story in Kentucky because during the Civil War, Kentucky was like half and half. They Part of them were against it, part of them were for it. And they actually sold mules to both sides of the war. And so I thought, well, I'll put it in Kentucky because I went on the internet. God bless the internet, and I put in that I wanted to know a place that was a plantation close to the Cumberland Mountains.
Hmm.
To get the two ideals, and actually it came up with the place, and my husband and I went there,
Oh,
and
wow.
I've actually gotten some of my stories from there. Um, there's a 29,000-acre virgin forest there,
Hmm.
and so I have Sadie's cabin right up next to the forest, and one story was about John Swift, and he was supposed to be a man that lived in the forest that smelted down silver, and I mean, and I actually saw a plaque in the forest there where we went to about him,
Hmm.
and so apparently I don't know if he was in people's imagination during that time or not, but so some of the stories come from that. And my father and my grandfather actually owned a lot of farms. And all 8 boys had a place to work, when they were growing up, and after they got married, even, and a house to live in. And so there was a tale during that time about uh, the Civil War. Guys robbed a bank in this town in Kentucky that I made up,
Mm-hmm.
and they had their bank money with them, when they were coming through the place in Tennessee. I mean, actually, this is a story that we had. And so they got to the point where they couldn't take it any longer, and they buried it somewhere on my grandfather's farm. Well, people came all the time, and they thought they had a map, and they dug, and we had holes all over.
Right.
Thinking somebody was going to find the treasure.
Hey,
So
why not?
I put that little bit in the book too, about that, and so there's some myths that I've grown up with that have actually gone into the book, which I tried to make it sound better.
Sure. It's also very fascinating because, I've spoken with a lot of authors, and the power of the internet as a research tool, it can't be denied. It's pretty much par for the course. But you actually deciding to go out there and see the land was pretty cool, huh? It must have been an adventure for you.
Yeah, I was excited about that. That was really, I mean, it couldn't have fit my writing any better than I could have made it up.
Yeah.
It was just really ideal. There was a plantation that was close to the Cumberland Mountains. I couldn't
Just
believe it.
serendipity and happenstance, I
Oh
suppose.
yeah, really. It was great.
You had mentioned earlier that you are pretty much in lockstep with Sadie and what she loves and what she doesn't. But as an author, I got to ask, what's it like putting one of the people you know so well, fictional or otherwise, through the ringer and having her overcome challenges or even be met with challenges that may be seen as insurmountable?
Well, my muse, I guess, and me somehow or another, um, figured that Sadie was isolated. And I can see that, when you're back in the country, in the woods, so to speak, and you don't go anywhere, you work every day, you don't do anything. I mean, I can see people become isolated. And so Sadie was isolated from the time she was born. And from the time she was probably big enough to do anything, she took care of the children. And that ended up her job there with the other people, because when the Emancipation Proclamation happened, a lot of black people left the farm, and the farmers didn't have anybody to help them. And Sadie's ancestors stayed with the Beach family, and some of them did. I mean, that was historical as well, because then they became sharecroppers, and they got paid for some of the work that they did. And so over the years, Sadie's family left. And by the time she was 17, she was the only one that was left. And we began the book with her mother dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so when her mother died, she didn't have another person there with her. And she began to question then, why she was there and whether or not she was going to have a life of her own. And so that's really the quest of the book, is Sadie having a life of her own, a family of her own, and her leaving a legacy. She often said, I'm going to be somebody. And she was. She turned out to have the qualities of a woman that any woman would want to have. She had resilience, and she was wise. People went to her for her to answer their questions.
Yeah.
She was good.
You also talked about the very conflict, internal and external, throughout the pages of the book, of identity and who she was, and what it meant to be biracial and what it meant for relations in general at that time. It's an ugly, tough subject now. It's probably even an uglier subject back then. But how'd you navigate those waters of the political sphere then and now?
she lived on one side of the forest of the 29,000 acres, and this young man lived on the other side of, and he was hunting in the forest, and she happened to see him, and he saw her, and they fell in love. So, so they decided to get married, and of course, the Beach family didn't like that, or especially the woman, very much, because she lost the person that was helping her out with her children, and so Sadie went to live then with her husband on another farm that was doing about the same thing as they were doing on her side of the woods. And when she went to do that, then she became friends with the white man that her husband had grown up with. Mm-hmm. The two boys, one black, one white, had become best friends, and they would go hunting together. And one night they got lost in the forest, and they went into this what they thought was a cave. It was actually a mine, and they were in there all night. And while they were in there, I don't know if you ever did this or not when you were growing up, they cut their arms and became blood brothers. Yeah. And so his name is Newly, and that sort of has a ring to it that you might know that something's going to happen to him, Right. But anyway, he tells her about this, and she said, "Well, I don't know about that. How can you become a blood brother with somebody of a different race?" Right. But he assured her that he was, and so Ab was the white boy's name, and Ab said, I can't understand you getting married. He said, we've been friends all this time. Now she's going to take you away from me, and we're not going to have to be friends anymore. But he assured him that they would be. And so they made a pact. They said, if either one of us dies before our wives or our family, that we will make sure that the other one takes care of the family. Right. So I guess I'm telling the story, but, Ab ends up being Sadie's best friend. And I won't tell you more.
Yeah, that's always fair, right? You got to make sure really something through the desire. Yeah. What was the inspiration behind Newly? I'm just curious as a reader of the work. Like, what was the real things you pulled to make craft Newly as a character?
Well, in the first place, a male and a female, you never think that a male and a female can just be friends, right? but this, this is interracial too, and so they were just friends. I grew up in a small town. There were black people there. I never felt prejudiced or anything. I don't think I did. Now I may be more prejudiced than I think, but I remember when our janitor at school, we had this little tiny school, and he had a furnace room, and my daddy always had people helping him on the farm and stuff, and I never did think anything about it. But I know the teacher had to come and get me more than once because I was going to the furnace room to sit down and talk to our tea. Yeah. And we were friends, and we enjoyed being together. So I don't know whether I know there was prejudice. Sure. But I don't know how we got around that with having a person in our family, and he probably overlooked a lot of what some of the white people said to him or did,
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand. Sometimes when we grow up, we think about who we interact with and who we become friends with. We don't really think about color in the moment, but, and we always reflect and go, oh, yeah, I guess we had, a different upbringing, different situations, different interactions with everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
Well, talk to me about the actual crafting of a novel. Or is it whenever inspiration struck? Was it you set time per day to make this happen? Like, what was the process of bringing instinct to life?
I've probably been writing on this for 20 years. It's been a long time. At first I had the first book that I published, Maggie's Secrets, she's actually the second novel. This one is the first one. I just had them in a row. And I had it all together. And like I said, I went to a lot of conferences and got advice from people, how to write and everything. But I never did think too much about publishing it. I was just writing it, Yeah. And so they told me, I had more than one person tell me, you don't want all this in there. This is 2 or 3 books. You need to, have it torn apart, and it's, 500-page book is too much, for most people to read,
Yeah.
Especially if it's just a romance novel. So, so we actually then decided to make it into 2 books, and it may be a series for all I know. If there's a spin-off out of Maggie's Secrets, she's the second one, that starts to make something out of it in my head, you carry these things around with you, and you wonder. Then I might end up doing a 3rd one. I don't know.
Do you have situations where you're like in the car or something and an idea comes or you're out for a walk? Do you write that down instantly? Is it kind of like my next writing session, I'll get to it? Like, how do you handle when inspiration strikes?
That's right. If you don't write it down when you first think of it, then it'll never come back to you the same way it came to you in the first place. Mm-hmm. You can get the idea again, but you won't have the same words or the same poetic meaning or whatever. So I try to write things down when they come to me. And I've forgotten what movie it was that somebody said that it was written on a napkin in a restaurant, the first part of it, Right. So I know that you need to write it down if you hear it.
Yeah, the napkin situation has always been something I've heard from a lot of authors being like, hey, if I'm having my burger or lunch or whatever, do it now. Therefore.
Right, stop right then and write it down. You got to.
Was there a situation when you wrote a character in Sadie Secrets where you may have had one perception of them, but it kind of evolved over time while you're crafting the book, your opinions changed of a certain character?
Oh, yeah. It grew, there was places in the book where you would write it, and then there would be this question. Well, how did that get there? Or what did you what became of that other person that was in that act? And so you have to go back and figure out all those things. And I guess when you're a writer, you're writing all the time. It's always there, and it's always in your head, and you're always ready to put something down. And some of the classes and things that I took just said, put your bottom in the seat, and then you can learn to write. But until you write something, you don't have anything to edit.
Yeah. Was that like something that was I don't say torturous, but was it something that was like challenging to write and to rewrite over and over and over again? Or you take some kind of like thrill in that part of the writing process? What's been your take?
Actually, it was not a challenge. I really enjoyed rewriting sometimes. Even this morning, I read Sadie's Secrets all over again.
Oh, wow.
So that I would know when you ask me the question, not to get it mixed up with some other book that I'm writing or something,
Oh, yeah. Well, you have a whole universe or universes in your mind at once. Like I can see that happening. Right?
So, you think about it and you think, well, did I put that scene in this book or did I put it in another book? And, you have to rethink some of the things that you did. So, I did I read it really quickly, but I did read it this morning.
What's something that you hope that readers will extract when they check out Sadie Secrets?
Well, when I was writing it, I didn't even think about what other people would think. I just wrote because I wanted to. Uh, but if it can benefit somebody, then I think that's wonderful. Um, I think I was the one that got the most benefit than anybody else because when I said that I actually put into the computer, this is my setting, and it ups and says, well, you go to Kentucky and you find it. And I mean, you actually are rewarded for some of the things that you have come up with just through your own imagination.
Yeah.
So I do think that Sadie was an absolute amazing woman. She was 17 when she got married, and of course, girls got married early in those days. My mother was 16 when she got married, but my daddy was 25, so,
Mm-hmm.
so he could take care of her. But she had a lot of wisdom. Sadie had more wisdom than most of us have. And Al, her best friend there in the end, would go to her and talk things over with her. And she couldn't actually, let me answer that phone and turn it down. She couldn't actually think that it was something that she should know. But she did. She knew how to sew. Her mother taught her how to sew, and she made some money that way.
Mm-hmm.
She was a good cook. She had the wisdom that a lot of us just didn't have. So it really made me feel good to write about her and to talk about her.
The book is called Sadie's Secrets, available September 2025 at your favorite bookstores, Amazon, including. Nancy Evelyn Allen, thanks so much for being on the show and discussing how did you make this book happen from idea to completion.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully you'll come back if there is a spinoff or more in that series, right?
Hopefully, and they told me this week that Sadie's Secrets is #1 on Amazon.
Well, there
So
you go.
that's in 2 different categories. So that is just really wonderful. I would have never thought it would be, but I mean, I didn't even think about it. So that's good.
Hey, author to author, that is an amazing achievement. I have never had that happen to me, but I bet if I did, I would go out and celebrate.
What kind of things do you write?
Well, typically I'm more what's called neo-Westerns. So it's like the conventions of Westerns, but set in modern days. So cowboys, they drive Mustangs, and there's like, modern weaponry. Yeah, but my last book was a memoir, so that one was nonfiction. So it's kind of
okay. Well, that's great. That's great. I'm almost finished with my mother's memoir,
mm-hmm.
and I'm comparing it to me as I grow old.
Oh,
so,
wow.
How I have related to the things that she, related to, and how she took care of it, and how I might have. And so that one will be coming out sometime or another, but I've got like 3 that I'm I'm taking care of now. I've had 7 people tell me, and some of them were in the business, that Maggie's Secret needs to be a film. It needs to be a movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and so one of the people that contacted me gave me a list of things that they needed in order for me to pitch a producer.
Mm.
And one of those things was a screenplay. So I like about 50 pages now having Maggie's Secrets into a screenplay.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Another set of challenges, but so much fun and rewarding when those get done.
And I said, it probably won't happen. I never even dreamed that it would until people started saying that. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay. I've learned things from it. But, it wouldn't happen at all if I didn't try.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of funny because, back in Brooklyn, where I grew up, we would say, hey, it may not be nothing. So it's very similar. Like, hey, it may not be nothing, but if it is,
Yeah, but, it could be.
Right. It could be.
There are times when things happen that you don't expect. And I had never expected one of my books to be number one on Amazon.
Yeah.
But it is, and I'm just tickled to death about it. It's great.
Yeah. Well, that's one achievement, hopefully, of many, many more. Nancy Evelyn Allen, thanks so much for your time on Global Book Network here today.
It's so glad to see you and to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thank you.